Welcome to Startup Secrets. Barry O'Sullivan and I continue a fascinating journey where we get to meet and hear the stories behind the founders of a range of exciting startup ventures. In this episode, we're delighted to meet Chris Byrne, co-founder and CEO of Sensorpro, a leading European email marketing company. Having set up Sensorpro in 2002, Chris has vast experience of building and selling software. So, Chris, welcome to Startup Secrets.
Thanks for inviting me, Mike, and great to chat with yourself and Barry this morning. Hope everything is good with you.
Absolutely, Chris. So, opening question. Can you tell us a little about yourself, professionally, personally? Who is Chris Byrne?
I understand that the nature of this session is really to get inside the mind of the entrepreneur, and I think what leads us to do what we do is very much about our backstory, isn't it? So that's what leads us to where we are today, right? And so for people tuning in, I did a maths degree in UL, and I always wanted to start my own software company. And that's really what got me to where I am today is the short answer. And I answered an ad in Computer Weekly at the time, a US software company were looking for software engineers, because at the time there was a huge gap in terms of ability or capability in that space. And I worked in the US for a couple of years. I brought the company back to Ireland. We set up an R&D center here, hired about 60 software engineers. And then I wanted to do something on my own. And so I felt I had enough in terms of the capability, in terms of hiring, firing, training people in that business. And we actually set up a cash management platform where we looked at gaps in US software companies' offerings and filled that. And that company was successful. We sold that for over 60 million euros. And after that, we then went on to do what we're doing today, which is more or less along the same lines, in the sense that we looked at the gaps that are in the market and fulfill those and partner with these companies. So that's kind of the short answer.
And it's an obvious lead in then as to what is it that Sensorpro does, and I suppose timing is perfect for you at the moment with the explosion in e-commerce and cross-border world. I mean, I presume Sensorpro is well positioned now.
I know we're kind of not here to talk about necessarily what our company does, but it's a European made email platform. And one of the things that I recognized was that with a lot of the offerings in Europe, a lot of them were made in the US. And so they wouldn't have had privacy baked into the architecture of the platform. A lot of them were what we would call the industry a bag on the side of the platform. But, and it was to address that. And so we're sort of leading with that. And again, despite that, though, we partner with major US firms who had this on their roadmap. So, for example, we partner with Epicor in the US, who are a big ERP company, and we partner with Epsilon Interactive, who are a big marketing agency firm around the world, and now owned by Publicis Group. And so that's what allows small Irish companies like us and anybody else thinking along those lines to get the larger customers is by partnering. And that's something certainly I would be recommending to any entrepreneur tuning in, is embrace the concept of partnerships. It's not something we're great at in Ireland, actually. And we tend to think that we can do everything ourselves, and we can't. And I mean, technically you can, but the secret to success, if you're looking for secrets, is to have a laser focus on one thing and be brilliant at it. Only the few can be good at a lot of things, and there's not many examples of that, but there's plenty of examples people who are brilliant at that one thing. And so that's certainly what I would be suggesting people look at.
That's brilliant, Chris. Yeah, partnership very, very important. So, in your view, and you've touched on it in certain ways, you've done a lot more since 2002, obviously, but what do you think makes a successful start?
Well, in terms of a successful start, I mean, if you're looking at your typical startups, I mean, I do some work with Enterprise Ireland on mentorship. So I've been lucky enough to see some of the mistakes that we've been making, and can be happy to share some of those with you. And again, you know, when I work with some of these companies, I always use my own experience. So it's not a book I've read yesterday or whatever, although there's lots of books I would recommend that they read. But I'd always take it from my own experience. So it's based on that. And you know, the one mistake I see coming out is just what I said a minute ago, is that people think they can do everything themselves, and they don't recognize the need to work with other companies and look at win-win situations. And many partnerships fail because of one simple thing, which is greed. So you know, you have to work with and give to your partner, and they'll give back. And so there's a lot of opportunity for startups right now in that space. Or for example, you know, if you look at, say, things like Shopify is a fantastic platform, and it's a great ecosystem that startups could you know, can operate in. And there's lots of those examples. And you know, there's companies that operate or work within those ecosystems. You don't hear of them, but they are hugely successful in there. The key mistake I also see people making is that you might have a technical founder, and again, they would, you know, think that they don't really need sales, and you know, it's the build it and they will come. Well, you know, let me tell you, build it and they won't come. You know, everything needs to be sold. And the best startups I've seen have a great sales capability at the beginning. So if you're on your own, you know, see if you can partner up with someone who is better than you at, you know, knocking down doors and getting and winning business. Because without that, you know, your success is limited. And so that's the one thing I would be suggesting to people is, if you're not good at sales today, then go and get the help that's needed. Go and get the training to do that. And if you don't want to do it, or you can't do it because of bandwidth reasons, get someone who's really good with you and bring them into the business. And those are the ones that I see are being successful. And the final one, I mean, there's lots, but I'll limit. I know we're short on time. Is understanding the competition. And I'd recommend a great book here by April Dunford called Obviously Awesome. And she really gets into what competition is, or how you should be looking at competition. And one of her great lines is that a lot of startups think, oh, my competition is this big, huge company over there, or the similar startup over there. Whereas in fact, your competition could well be somebody using Microsoft Excel, or that the company has decided to use an intern to do that job. So understanding who your competition is important. And I see a lot of advice actually being given out in various platforms to ignore your competition. And I would say ignore your competition at your peril on that one.
Very, very interesting, Chris. To go on from that, what is it, which is one of the questions that I was really keen to answer. What is it that keeps driving entrepreneurs to keep inventing, keep innovating, keep moving forward? What keeps driving you every single day?
Yeah, it's one of those questions, isn't it, Barry? It's kind of it's a question I've seen being asked recently. What's your superpower, right? So for anyone tuning in, I would make sure you have an answer prepared for that question. because unfortunately you're going to get asked it, and you may not like it. So know what your superpower is, and it's a difficult one. What makes you do what you do. I mean, for me, certainly it's having an independent mindset and building and making your own things. And there is also a satisfaction from building things. So I don't know, is it because I liked making Lego when I was younger? I don't know, but there is a satisfaction from making things, and I think a lot of people get satisfaction from making and building things and seeing them being successful. I mean, in the first company I started, software I wrote personally 35 years ago is still in use today, which is shocking when you think about it. And there are firms who, have built consultancies around supporting it, which is fantastic. So I suppose it's nice to see that things that you are building, continue to persist. So that would be my answer, Barry.
Brilliant.
If you were to go back in time, Chris, to when you were 18 years of age, I know it's only yesterday. What is it? What is it that you would write to yourself about the life ahead of you? If you know what I mean, what would you tell yourself?
Right. It's a great question. I would say three things if I were, if I were that age. And the first thing I would say is that people will not remember anything that you say. They will only remember how you make them feel. I think somebody else said that, but it's a very good line because that brings us into why storytelling is important. And I would also say to myself at that time, go and learn how to speak and be articulate, because a lot of and certainly I was that person. A lot of our graduates coming out of colleges, especially in Ireland, despite what people say about us having the gift of the gab and so on, I actually see that there is a difficulty in terms of being articulate and being able to get your message across. So, I was saying to the younger Chris, go and get the training for, for this, so that you can communicate in later life. So those are the two main thing. And the last one I would say is a saying that's really stuck with me. And somebody said it to me years ago, and I find it quite useful. And it's that everyone else puts their pants on one leg at a time. And what that means is it teaches you not to be afraid. So this person over there, oh look, they're very successful. They've built a great company and so on. Well, they are just like you are, and so I would be saying, that would teach you to not be afraid. And it's a question you don't ask of other people. It's a question, it's something you ask of yourself. So.
I think that's marvelous. Thanks very much, Chris. I think that's been one of the most insightful chats we've had with anybody so far. Thank you. It's great to hear about the importance of partnership and how you sell yourself, and obviously understanding the competition. And yeah, you're quite right in terms of expressing your story, which you have done expertly. Chris, I suppose to wrap up, I want to thank you on behalf of Barry and myself and our colleagues in DT Labs. Thank you very much for your time, and we wish you and Sensorpro and everybody involved the absolute best.
It was great chatting with you guys. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.